Doing some mini mulching here. See if you can figure out what I did. So this is all that's left. That's all I can find right there. It's an expensive video. $400. At least $400. Hope a lot of y'all watch it. What's up, guys? Brad here from Piney Grove, and we've been having a blast with this Baumalight mini skid steer, and I'm excited about using it today. We've got about 10 hours on the machine now, so we know a little bit more about it, and we know a little bit more about its capabilities, and that's something I want to talk about in this video, because I think there's a lot of misconceptions out there about what these machines are and what they aren't. But first of all, you got to fill it up with fuel, because it's got a nice, easy to read or easy to see sight gauge on the fuel. We're mainly going to do forestry mulching in this video, but we're also going to talk about the usefulness of this machine, and I want you guys to participate in that conversation because I want your thoughts. I want to know what you think about different machines that you've operated and their usefulness, and is there such thing as a one-size-fits-all. But this sight gauge is something else. I really like that. Look at that. Watched it come right to the top, cut it off. Perfect amount of fuel. But I think what I'm going to say in this video is likely going to surprise a lot of people, because they think YouTubers are trying to sell them products. And I'm not trying to sell anything. I'm sitting on, or I'm standing on, about $40,000 machine here. Awesome 25 horsepower Baumalight mini skid steer with a mulching head on it. Awesome machine, love it. Like most people, we can only afford, one or two machines, and those machines have to do it all. We're fortunate enough that great companies like Baumalight and Summit Tractors and all the other sponsors we have, Hyson for our side-by-side, they loan us or give us demo equipment so that we can demonstrate how these things work so that they can sell them. And we don't get any commission or anything. If 500 of these Baumalight mini skid steers sell because of this video, I won't receive a dime of that. And I'll be very happy if, Baumalight gets makes a lot of money on their investment for developing these machines. So I say all that to say this, that out there's a lot of people with these machines, and a lot of them are getting sponsored. There's like an invasion of Chinese small machines coming into the United States. And people are saying a lot of things that I think are misleading and just not true. And the biggest thing that I think I want to address today as I do some mulching is these are not a do-all piece of equipment, and they certainly cannot replace a tractor. They have a specific purpose, they have limitations, but I can't off the top of my head think of anything that they can do that a tractor can't do, but I can think of a ton of things that a tractor can do that a mini skid steer can't. And I think I owe it to you guys to give you that information so you can make a decision and not make a mistake in what you buy. Now, this is a very small piece of equipment. It's very powerful, and you can do tons of things with it. You can get tons of attachments for the front. We've got the mulching head, we've got forks, we've got a bucket, and we've got a grapple. And I've already been able to do things with this that would be very hard to do with a tractor, but mainly because of its compact size, and we want to get in between pine trees and stuff and clean them out without hurting the trees. And that's hard to do with a tractor, but you can also do it with a chainsaw, a brush cutter, a handheld brush cutter, like a string trimmer. And there's just a lot of other ways that are much cheaper than a $40,000 piece of equipment to do that. Now, if you're in the business of doing this type of clearing on small residential lots and, you're trying to make money, I think that this is a great machine to make money with. And if I wasn't so broken from being old and wearing my body out, I would think about, going out and trying to make a buck with this thing, because there's a need out there to clear overgrown spaces that are tight and that people want to, maintain this tree or that tree. And you get in there with a full-size skid steer or even a tractor, it's going to be hard to maneuver, and you're going to have to do a lot of hand work. We have 20 acres. We have people out there, viewers, that have 40 acres, 80 acres. Some have 1 or 2. And there's no replacing a tractor. When we get demo machinery like this, we owe it to you to show how effective it is, but we also need to tell you the truth. And if we don't have experience, we shouldn't go over into that area. And I see people with these that say, this can do everything a tractor can do, and it simply cannot. And we'll talk about that more as we go through the video. So I think I'm gonna start right here. Now, I actually cleared that out with a Baumalight mulcher, but it's on back of a tractor. But I couldn't get in these tight spots, and I was going to have to do that by hand. But now that I have this narrow machine, I can get in here and clean this up a lot better. And that's my deer stand and my food plot, so I don't want to clean this up too good. But there's a lot in here, especially these vines that choke out the trees, that I can clean up. And then over on this side, we have about 5 acres that's pretty much untouched. And I want to clean that up and just stop the encroachment into this path and also into the plot. You see the trees are trying to grow over in shade out areas, and when they shade out areas, it doesn't grow as well. Well guys, this was an absolute clinic on where this machine excels at. It also was one of the most expensive videos we've ever made out here at Piney Grove, because I mulched up my GoPro. All I've found is the mount, but that's the bottom of the magnetic mount, and the GoPro used to be in there, and there's a lot of teeth marks there, so I'm pretty sure it's mulched up. I'm going to keep looking for it. This was the perfect environment for that mini skid steer, especially with the mulch head. And the whole point I'm trying to get at is, don't go get your information from someone that doesn't have any kind of experience with tractors or excavators or full-size skid steers or mini skid steers. They just got a $6,000 mini skid steer, and they're out there cheerleading it and saying how great it is and how it can replace a tractor, and you never need a tractor, because it's simply not true. And I love that machine, and I appreciate Baumalight for allowing us to use it out here at Piney Grove. And I'm going to put tons and tons of hours on it and make you guys a whole bunch of videos. But that machine, you can put a post hole digger on it so you can dig post holes with it. But imagine on that 1 acre field back there, you're standing up. How are you going to till it? Perhaps there's a tillage attachment that could go on the front of it. It's a 1 acre field back there. You're really going to till an acre standing up. Certain jobs fit certain applications, and some jobs are more multifunctional than others. And that's my whole point, is that I don't think a mini skid steer can replace a tractor, but it's a nice addition to your fleet. And I got a comment the other day from a video I did a long time ago, and it was about buying versus renting an excavator. And for us, we felt it was more advantageous to buy an excavator. because we bought it used, we bought it cheaper than a new one, and it probably will always be worth about that much while we use it. And then after 5 to 10 years, we'll sell it and probably break even. And that's doing pretty good because you got all of that work done and you didn't have to hire it out for $100, $200, $300 an hour. So I was making the case of rent versus buy, but before I even got into the video, I talked about, I panned over to our Kubota tractor. We have a L3901. We bought it, not sponsored. And I said, the number one thing you should get if you have property is a tractor. And I said, the number two machine would be an excavator. Now we can make a debate whether excavator or skid steer. I have never once rented a skid steer out here at Piney Grove or thought that I needed one. But if I needed to do this type of work now that I know the mini skid steer exists, I would say that renting a mini skid steer for a couple days or a weekend to clean up areas, I'd say that would be, you get good return on your investment there. But the comment on that video was, and it was a recent comment for an older video, was I would say get a side-by-side first. From a joyriding aspect or a convenience aspect, I could see wanting a UTV on your property, but I couldn't see buying that before a tractor. I can't see buying a mini skid steer before you get a tractor. I really can't see a full-size skid steer or an excavator before a tractor. A front-end loader is, I think, way more useful than a skid steer, even though a skid steer has a bucket. Just the way that it reaches out farther and you can see around it better. So all those things are just things you should take into consideration. And just because someone is really, really excited about a machine and they say that this is the best machine ever and it's the only machine you need on your property, really think about what you're going to do on your property, because these things are expensive and most of us can't afford more than one. We need things that are multifunctional, that last a long time, and will give us some sort of return on our investment. I've looked everywhere. I can't find that GoPro. One thing I didn't mention is that as maneuverable as this mini skid steer is, you're still going to have to do some things by hand, like this right here, I think is a kudzu vine. It cut it up high and it didn't suck it into the machine. So if you want these vines removed, you're going to have to pull some of them down. Also, and I think I caught it on camera, it's the first time I've done it, but they're very tippy and this is not very uneven ground. It's not flat, but it doesn't have more than 1 foot of grade change in between these planted pine trees. And with that heavy mulching head on the top, it's front heavy. And I actually, for the first time ever, and I've seen Brock over at Rock Hill Farms like stand his up trying to pick up an IBC tote full of wood, but I stood it up all the way and I hung on and figured out what I needed to do to come back down. But they're not extremely stable, right? They're not very wide, they're not very long, and hang a mulching head off there, you got a lot of front weight. And I have the rear weights on it, so I don't know how many pounds they are, a couple hundred pounds or whatever, but that increases my tipping weight. So my tipping weight is more than if you just bought that machine stock. But still no signs of the camera. I'm going to come back over this and mulch this up, clean this area up a little bit more, and then go over to that thick area because that's more fun and it'll make for a better video. I'll get you guys caught up here in a second. This is like the third time it's overheated, and when it overheats, it just shuts down until you clean off the radiators. Got a radiator up here I've already got flipped up, and then of course you got the engine radiator. It sucks in leaves and dust and everything here. All right, guys, I am worn out, but you can see behind me there, I did all that. I wasn't planning on doing that, but it's just addictive. Once you get on these machines and start working the brush, these forestry mulchers are just fun. And anything I said earlier in the video about don't get one, I was wrong. Get a second mortgage on your house, sell your work truck, sell whatever you can, sell your dishwasher, sell your washer and dryer, and get you one of these machines. But what we have out here at Piney Grove is actually perfect for one of these, especially right now. Now, after I get everything cleaned up, I won't need a forestry mulcher out here. But I did all that back there, all this behind me. And I think the most impressive part is going to be when you see this deer stand here and we look back that way, back where I stopped. So a few things here. It's a dangerous machine. It throws out stuff everywhere. You see I had protective gear on for my face, and I had hearing protection and a face mask, and I had gloves on, and stay behind the machine and try to keep the cutting edges down. Sometimes you got to tilt them towards you in order to get things cleaned up, but it's dangerous, I guess is what I'm saying. And when you're going through there, vines and stuff want to wrap around your neck, and everything's out to get you. So if you rent one of these, buy one of these, borrow one from a friend, be careful. So there's the deer stand right there. So you could not see the plot at all right there. And we cleared all the way there. I left a little bit of thick stuff there for the wildlife. There's a lot of cedars and stuff in there. So I didn't clear that out completely, and I do want to have some screening there for the food plot, so I'll probably plant some cedars or something along the edge there, but having these pines look like this is great. But all the way back to the green pole barn, that wasn't as thick as this over here, but it was pretty thick. I put you on wide angle so you can see it all. So that black blob over there is the deer stand. This is the area that I left thick, but all this through here, and especially back through here all the way to the plot, you see some daylight through the woods there. That's the food plot, and you couldn't see any of that. I did all of that with that little machine. And there's a few times that I stalled it out. The key is to recognize when it's about to stall and then disengage the mulching head, and then back up and get disentangled from everything that's stopping the mulching head, crank it back up, and then get back to it. And another thing is, it doesn't have a temperature gauge. So there's a temperature light there, and because you're not sitting down, the gauge isn't like right in front of you. You're standing up and the gauge is pretty low. So the temperature light came on, and I don't know if the temperature light comes on and then it shuts off, or everything happens all at once, but it shut down because of over temp a couple times. I never smelt any coolant boiling or anything, but you get so much dust and leaves and everything. It's got a engine coolant or engine radiator, and it also has an electric driven fan on the hydraulic cooler. So you clean both of them off, and then the temp light goes off and you go back to business. But it's 90 some degrees, but we're in a shaded area, but it's the dust that impacts inside the fins of the radiators, and you got to get that out. It just can't cool itself. But the machine got a great workout. You can see it's very dirty, but nothing's damaged on it. Obviously, my mulching head is starting to get some wear and stuff because it's hitting the dirt, but it's still mulching great. The only thing I would say about this machine is, for a mulching head, it needs more power. While I'm here, let me show you the light. So the over temp light is right there. So it's kind of low, kind of hard to see, but here's your hydraulic pressure. So you'll see that go down when you're bogging down, and of course you'll see your RPMs go down. But yeah, I never saw that light come on. But when it did shut the machine off, I had to take off this grill right here, clean out the engine radiator, the coolant for the engine, and then I had to flip this up and clean that. That's the coolant for the hydraulics. But that's going to wrap up today's video. I got to get this thing blown off. It's raining just a little bit now, and I'd rather clean it when it's dry rather than everything get wet and all that dust becomes mud in there. Hopefully you enjoyed the video. Hopefully you enjoyed the conversation. Please join in the conversation down below in the comments. But until next time, y'all take care out there. And remember, life's short. Tractor or forestry mulch hard. And check out these two videos right here. They're totally awesome.